Hello and welcome to American Friction, the only US politics podcast in the world that you'd want to listen to for 25 hours straight. I'm your podcast yapper-in-chief, Jacob Jarvis.
And I'm Chris Jones, and I like to go blah, blah, blah.
He really does. He's always going blah, 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 blah on this podcast. And joining us today is, of course, someone who can ramble and rumble with the best of them. It's Washington, D.C.'s finest Nikki McCann Ramirez. Hi, Nikki.
Who voted you Yapper-in-Chief? I'm Yapper-in-Chief. What?
I sort of power grabbed it. But yeah, you can be Yapper-in-Chief and I'll be Yepper-in-Chief, I guess.
Yepper-in-Chief. What does that mean?
I'm quite agreeable.
Deputy Yapper-in-Chief.
I'm like, Deputy Yapper-in-Chief. I like that. Vice President of Yapping.
Assistant to the
Chief of
Yapper-in-Chief.
Yap.
Yeah, Chief of Yap.
I just made a US office reference there. You didn't get it.
Yeah. No, I've only watched the UK one.
Coward.
I know.
Oh, cowardice.
Yeah, sorry, guys. Well,
It's the best one.
Since we found out I'm a coward onto this show, we look at Trump's tariff meltdown and ask how liberated Americans are feeling after Trump's Liberation Day. Plus, we'll round up some other stories that you might have missed and we'll answer quite a lot of your listener questions, actually. But before that, Chris... It is that time of the week.
It's that time of the week.
Whisper it. Chris, it's time to ask us a silly question.
Okay.
Chris?
I'll ask it. Do I have to whisper it?
No, you can say it out loud
okay,
now.
nice. Booker just spoke for 25 hours.
Booker, yep.
Not
We're
Booker
calling
T.
him Booker. Yeah, that sounds like Booker T.
Cory Booker just spoke for 25 hours.
Yep.
Insane.
Long
And we're going
time.
to talk a bit about it later.
Sure.
But if you could speak about anything for 25 hours... what would you speak about? Or what could you speak about for 25 hours? Jarv, I'll start with you.
Sort of emo music from maybe 2008 to 2015. Or so, maybe
Why so
slightly
specific?
earlier than that. Slightly earlier than that, actually, because I'd want to get the Black Parade and Free Cheers for Sweet Revenge in there. So let's go sort of, emo music of the 2000s and onward. I could speak about, because I could speak a lot about My Chemical Romance.
Yeah.
I could then start just referencing lyrics and using them throughout.
Nice.
I could then talk about the wider cultural impact, the fashion of the time, you know, like I had one of them silly big earrings. There's all sorts of
Silly big earrings.
Yeah.
The big stretcher, didn't you?
Big stretcher, yeah. It was about...
You were so cool.
I think it's 1.5 inches. It was massive, yeah. And I wanted that forever until I had to get it actually stitched up. So that was very fun. But yeah, emo music from the 2000s would be my option.
Nikki, what fan fiction could you speak about for 25 hours?
No.
Come on.
You can't get me.
We will.
I am ungettable. I could speak about fan fiction for 24
which one?
hours, but I'm not telling you.
Damn it.
But if I had to talk about something for 25 hours on the Senate floor, it would probably be like morbid human tragedy. I could spend a solid 8 hours talking about the Titanic. I could do another 7 to 10 on the Donner Party.
Oh my God. Okay.
Like that kind of stuff. Like the Romanovs, that's another 4 hours right there.
Yeah.
Just give me a list of your favorite sad Wikipedia articles.
Oh, right.
And I'm good.
Okay.
We should do for the Patreons a weird dark histories bonus cast, because I love all that shit as well. I mean,
my God, yes.
I don't love it, but I love listening about it. So yeah, Chris, what's your 25-hour chat?
I could speak for 25 hours about the disaster that is Leicester City Football Club right now.
John
Oh,
Rugby.
no.
Sick of it. I don't want to watch it anymore, but I have to because I have to. I just do. I've been brought up with it, and I'm sick of it. I don't know if I've told you. I'm really upset with Leicester City Football Club right now.
Yeah.
But I could speak for 26 hours, maybe 27, about how angry I am about Leicester City Football Club, but also chips.
Yeah. Also, you could probably do 25 hours of pet names that you've got for.
That's ridiculous. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, we just know that you've been WhatsApping a few of them to the wrong
No.
people. Anyway, on that note, Chris?
Well, this is American Friction, and you're listening to it.
Okay, we love making this show. And I'm going to say that again. We love making this show. We love spending time with each other, talking about stuff and American politics and getting to understand it and just hanging out, being best friends. But we would really love it if we got a little bit more support in doing the show. This is where it's going bitter now. So I was being really positive. Now I'm going a little bit bitter. We love all of you, but we would love you even more if you could find it in your hearts, which some of them are quite small at the moment, and I'm sure they could grow to support us.
Jesus Christ.
In your hearts to support us on Patreon.
My word, that was terrible. For just £3 a month, you will get the show ad-free, and other tiers will get you access to bonus content and merch. And if you sign for £5 a month or more, we have a Patreon chat community, which is very nice, where you can ask questions to us and each other directly so that we can talk through the madness going on in US politics together. That would be lovely and nice.
So what are you waiting for?
What are you waiting for?
I say that honestly. What are you waiting for? Nikki, what are they waiting for?
They're waiting for me to tell them about the fanfics, but I'm not going to do it.
Okay,
fair.
So they should just subscribe, because I might do it in the subscriber-only chat.
Nice.
Exactly.
Really
so,
good.
follow the link in the show notes or go to patreon.com/American Friction. That's patreon.com/American Friction. If you're not watching the video, I'm karate chopping to demonstrate the /patreon.com/American Friction to sign up. Nikki, onto the show and what we're talking about today. Do you feel liberated?
I feel so free. Free of the burden of annoyingly expensive prices. Free of the burden of a healthy growing retirement account. I can't. I really
Free
I
of
cannot.
healthcare.
I can't do this.
Free of that.
I turned that I still have. Who knows for how much longer? But
Quite true.
One of the first things I do whenever I start my workday at 8 a.m. is I'll sign into Snapstream, the app I use to like clip video and audio. They're wonderful. But I'll just like pick 4 channels. It's like CNN, Fox News, Fox Business. And today I was like, I wonder how the stock market is doing. So I added Bloomberg to like my 4-viewer, Bloomberg TV, and I open it up, and the host just says to one of their correspondents, like, "Hey, Brad, like, what's it looking like?" And he just goes, "Everything is down, Ashley." And I was just like, "Oh, okay, great, we're free now."
The event then, Nikki, where Trump was up holding his massive sign and being very Trump about it, as you'd expect. Yeah, how did that feel? What was going on there? What's been the outcome of that?
I mean, it felt bad. It didn't feel great. It was, as most of these things with Trump tend to be, like very much performance, less substance. The speech, I don't refer to the actual tariffs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of substance in this economic tariff package, and it's going to be bad. But the speech itself was more performance than substance. But basically, he restated a lot of the rationale he's used before about why he's instituting these tariffs. Other countries are taking advantage of us. These tariffs will prevent fentanyl from coming through the border, because fentanyl, because in his mind, illegal fentanyl is just being brought in and people are paying taxes on it. All the reasons he gave, he invited like blue collar workers in like little hard hats and vests to be there, to be like, oh, this is going to be great for working Americans. And I think the most interesting thing about the speech is that he scheduled it at 4 p.m., which is, right when stock markets close in the United States, because there's been a couple incidents now where Trump makes an economic announcement and all the news channels that are carrying him live, which usually have a little stock ticker in the corner, you'll get the live image of Trump talking about what he's going to do to the economy, and then stocks just starting to collapse in real time. So they scheduled it at 4 p.m. so that wouldn't be a problem. But even as he was talking, international markets were reacting really negatively. I think the S&P and the Dow both took after-hour nosedives. So the speech was a lot of mumbo-jumbo about how this is going to be great for Americans and the economy and eternal prosperity and liberation for all. But the reality is that we're already seeing early indicators of the potential economic damage.
Chris, what stood out from Trump's speech to you?
I didn't listen to a lot of it because it was depressing. And also, he kind of said, we kind of knew what was coming. Yeah. And we have for a long time. But I picked up on the 10% tariffs for the UK, which is the lowest base level, I guess, for tariffs given to anyone, about 10%. Which you have to wonder, does that have anything to do with Starmer's visit to the White House last month? It was last month, wasn't it? Last month. The Conservatives don't think it does have anything to do with that, how he performed and the relationship they have. But, the Conservatives are right about everything, clearly, aren't they? So, we should believe them. But what is also interesting is if we'd still been in the EU, we probably would have had higher tariffs. So maybe Brexit wasn't so bad after all, Jarv.
I mean, that's
a joke, everyone.
Yeah, that's some good Brexit math there.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, it's. What stood out to me was just how it did feel like he had, and there's some speculation that he may have basically just used some really binary, almost ChatGPT-esque equation to come up with these numbers, because none of it makes. I'm not. I
don't understand the chart. I don't understand the chart.
No, and none of it can make sense because the numbers are sort of. Things aren't just taxed all at the same level from different places. There's variety of taxes for different types of products, obviously. And he's just like, big number. There you go. From 10 to 49%. So the biggest outtake for me was, it really didn't make any sense. Nikki, though, you always skip out on talking about the economy to us as much, but you're the one who knows the economy the best out of all of us. Was it as, am I right to be as confused?
Yeah, it became pretty clear immediately when he pulled out that chart that the numbers on it made no sense, particularly the numbers where they listed out what they claimed other countries were charging the US in terms of tariffs. For example, South Korea is not charging the United States 50% tariffs. The Heard and McDonald's Islands, which are inhabited entirely by penguins, were not charging the U.S. 10% tariffs on it. This is a real thing that was on the list. An island that is inhabited entirely by penguins.
They've got to pay their way.
They got to pay their way. Those fucking penguins, they've been freeloading far too long. America needs to level the playing field with those stinky birds. But what economists essentially figured out, people who are much smarter than me and actually get paid to do economic stuff, was that it looks like what the Trump administration did was take each country's trade deficit, which the easy way to say that is like the difference between like exports and imports between two countries. Like that produces a trade deficit because one country is usually always importing more than the other. One country is usually exporting more. They took the trade deficit and then divided that by the value of that country's exports to the US. It is a really absurd way to determine what a tariff against a country should be. The thing in the United States is the United States, at a certain point, mostly like in the late 19th and 20th centuries, became a country that exported most of its labor to other countries in exchange for cheap goods. So like, yeah, we import a ton of shit from other countries, but the trade-off there is that all that shit is really cheap because we are importing stuff from countries where the labor is significantly cheaper. If we tried to make those same goods in the United States, given the labor costs, the average salary, the cost of input goods, they would be probably hundreds of times more expensive. The United States has based most of its economy off like things like finances, technology, like Silicon Valley type shit, development, things that aren't like, tangible manufacturing jobs. We sent that all elsewhere. So yeah, there are trade disparities. We import a ton more shit from China than China imports from the United States because China is making all of the shit. The same thing goes for countries like India, like Bangladesh, like Sri Lanka, which like Bangladesh and Sri Lanka are and like Cambodia are three of the nations where the United States gets most of its textiles. So like clothing, all of the fast fashion and like, trendy clothing that Americans love, that wouldn't be possible if countries like Thailand, Cambodia, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh were making cheap, accessible textiles. We're not going to get into the whole thing about how the way labor is treated in these countries is inhumane, because like it is, and we are actually exploiting a lot of like human rights and labor abuses around the world to make sure we have cheap goods. But it's nonsensical for a president, for any economist to claim that because a trade deficit exists between two nations, that is an inherent sign of an unfair trade deal. No, the fair trade deal is that we pay less for shit.
Yeah.
And just another thing to add to that is it kind of goes completely against, I guess, the Republican Party's mantra in a way, especially when you look back at 1988, Ronald Reagan's speech, in which he said this. He said, over the past 200 years, not only has the argument against tariffs and trade barriers won nearly universal agreement among economists, but it has also proven itself in the real world, where we have seen free trading nations prosper while protectionist countries fall behind. And that's essentially what the US is becoming under Trump. It's becoming protectionist. And also it's sparking these trade wars between its closest allies and partners that are going to make it's going to make life and just general well-being much harder in the US, because everything is going to be much more expensive.
Nikki, do you think Trump is aware of how stupid what is going on right now is? Does he just think that he can just bully the world and it will work out for him? Or is he kind of just a bit sort of, I don't know, high on his own sense of self-esteem at the moment, that he just keeps going, nah, this will all be good. We're America. We're the biggest country in the world. And there we go, even though that's just doesn't feel like it's going to be the case.
Yeah, I think in a sense he is a little high off his own supply. I also think that part of the tactic here is to unveil these tariffs, and hopefully I'm giving them a lot of credit by saying they're acting tactically here, is you unveil these really steep tariffs with the hope that all these countries are going to come running. They're going to send their ambassador running to be like, hey, can we make a deal? And ideally, we wouldn't be doing this. But yeah, we're not trying to have, 30, 40, 50% tariffs on basic goods from every major trade partner. Everything from groceries, produce, automobiles, pharmaceuticals, construction equipment. Everything's going to get more expensive. And the thing is, like, you can make the argument that the United States needs to take steps to rebuild a manufacturing base within the United States. You can make the case that American-produced goods are too expensive, that there are not enough stable jobs for people that allow them to make a dignified, livable wage in this country, because the gap between people who work and barely make a living, who are making like $60,000, $50,000, $40,000, $35,000, and the people working like high-level, college-educated technical jobs that are making six-figure salaries is growing. That middle class has been shrunken and shrunken and shrunken, and you need more, skilled jobs, manufacturing jobs, jobs with pensions that can fill that void. The thing is, you don't accomplish that by taking a sledgehammer to the economy. You accomplish that by crafting thoughtful policy that targets individual industries, individual areas. You could, for example, talk to chip manufacturers and say, okay, we're going to give you a 3-year grace period to start moving some of your production to the United States. We're going to give you all these tax breaks. We're going to give you all these subsidies. And after the 3rd year, we're going to start tariffing imports from your country. Like, you can do that kind of thing. You don't just unveil a massive policy package that basically says like, ha ha ha, he he he, everything's more expensive for everyone, and hope that factories are going to manifest in the United States overnight. That's not how this works.
With that, Nikki, is this one of the things that maybe Democrats are finding hard about their messaging? Because some of the things that Trump is saying kind of, there maybe could be a bit of a left-wing argument for them almost, but he's making the argument like a toddler and he's not doing it correctly. Like what you were just saying then, do we need to see Democrats actually coming out and maybe kind of being like, yeah, this guy has a point, but he's getting the point all fucking wrong, and here's how we'd get the point right?
I mean, you can do that and not hand it to Donald Trump. You can just say, this is how we're returning manufacturing to the United States. First of all, Dems will need to like have a message in order for this to happen. We need to get there. But this is kind of what the Biden administration was trying to do with the Inflation Reduction Act.
Okay.
The Inflation Reduction Act, and I think we talked about it in a previous episode, gave a ton of money to states, particularly Republican areas in states all across the country, to open factories, power plants, a bunch of like job-related endeavors that were related to renewable energy. It was basically like, we're going to give you all this money to open this factory, and that factory is going to produce solar panels. And those are good, high-paying jobs that are like, you know, have the technical skills that we expect from people in this country. And what Republicans did in response to the IRA was brand it the Communist Green New Deal. Okay. Because how dare we invest in like renewable technology, even if it brings a ton of jobs and like good economic stimulation to Republican areas. And what ended up happening is Trump wins office. He's talking about repealing the IRA, and Republicans in these districts who received a ton of funding through the Inflation Reduction Act are now begging the Trump administration to include carve-outs so they don't lose that money because it's good for them. And part of the problem in the 2024 campaign cycle was that the Biden administration and then later the Harris campaign did not message effectively around this idea that like the Inflation Reduction Act didn't just reduce inflation. They were never going to win on the inflation messaging. They didn't talk enough about the reality that that plan was a great template for how to bring back jobs to the United States, how to increase our manufacturing base, how to bring jobs to areas that previously lost a large base of employment because we sent all of those manufacturing jobs abroad. And Democrats, like, I think you hit it right on the head. They need to come back with a messaging strategy that isn't just about like the threats to democracy and the importance of like social inclusion, which like both are important things, but about something that counters the populist economic message of Trump and Republicans. Something that counters this notion that the only way to bring prosperity back to this country is to start a trade war with your most important allies. Because let me tell you, the United States does not have the amount of avocado farms it needs to like maintain the consumption capacity of California. They don't exist here. They're all in Mexico. And an avocado is about to cost $15 if something doesn't get figured out.
I love the phrase, by the way, that you coined there, job-related endeavors. I'm going to use that whenever I'm asked what I'm doing for the day at work.
Job-related
yeah, I've got job-related endeavors to do.
Nice, man.
Nikki, just
right.
on the economics bit of it, just a final point there. Then I've got a couple of weird points to get into for us.
Love weird points.
You mentioned how he kind of deliberately timed it so they couldn't show the stock market going to shit in real time. Has the stock market gone to shit in real time? You know, since then, what are the economic impacts we're seeing?
Ashley, everything's down. Everything's down, Ashley. No, yeah. I mean, the stock market's open today, and it was just an immediate nosedive. The Dow dropped 1,500 points. The S&P 500 lost 4%. I saw somewhere, I think it was on Bloomberg, that Nike, their stock dropped to their worst performance since 2017 because most of Nike shoes and like apparel are manufactured abroad. The broad market index, this is CNBC. The broad market index dropped 4%, putting it on track for the worst day since September 2022. The NASDAQ composite fell 5%. Damn.
It's all gone wrong.
It's not good. Yeah, the stonk go down.
Stonks go down. Maybe we could get some cheap Nike trainers, though. But me and Chris are Reebok boys. So,
well, yeah, I do like
Esos son Reebok o son
Nike.
Nike.
That's one of the best YouTube videos ever.
I
Nikki.
love it.
Never seen it.
The guy who asks for the song, "Are these the Reeboks or the Nikes?" and it's the rhythm of the night.
But like it's in Spanish. So he calls into a radio station and he's like, "Hey, can I request a song?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, what song do you want?" He's like, "I don't know the name, but I know how it goes." The guy's like, "Oh, sing it to me." And he goes, "Esos son Reebok o son Nike?" He's like, "What?" He's like, "Esos son Reebok o son Nike?" And they go through it like 10 times and then the guy's just like, "Oh," and he starts playing the rhythm of the night. It's great.
It's too good. Right, now, good. We're on weird tangents time. So, Chris, Lutnick, who I believe is the Commerce Secretary, he spoke about beautiful beef. What's going on? What's this?
Well, he was on Fox News speaking to Sean Hannity, and, you know, that's always good stuff.
Yeah.
And he said this, he said, I mean, the European Union won't take chicken from America. They won't take lobsters from America. They hate our beef because our beef is beautiful and theirs is weak. It's unbelievable. None of that's true, really. Well, it is true, but it's not true that our beef is weak.
No. Okay.
But essentially, there's some pretty justifiable reasons as to why.
Food regulations, right?
Yeah.
Basically, it's like, we don't put chlorine in all of our shit.
Often, poultry in the US is washed with chlorine. Yum. We don't want that.
No.
Obviously. So that's banned. And then also beef, cattle is often fed with synthetic hormone, like growth hormones in the US.
So to be fair, their beef could be stronger than ours if you were to make them fight.
I don't know.
Probably.
Have you seen those Highland cows?
Ooh, they look quite tough. Well, this brings me to my next silly question. What British farm animal do you think is more beautiful than its American counterpart? To push back against this, Chris.
Ram.
You think British rams, they're better looking?
Yeah, because also like rock on as well.
I'm gonna rhyme with ram, and I'm gonna go lambs.
You do have nice lambs. I think y'all's geese are beautiful, especially when you give them the little bonnets.
The geese are really cute. Well, but Nikki, what do you think is America's most attractive farm animal that we can't compete with?
Ooh, the turkey.
The turkey, fair.
We've got turkeys.
Yeah, but like a good turkey,
Sure.
your nice turkeys. Also like longhorns. Longhorns are pretty cool. I don't know if they're farm animals, but I know they live on ranches.
What's a longhorn?
Longhorns are. It's a cow that has very long horns.
Oh, okay. Longhorn cow.
They're sick. They're pretty sick.
They do sound sick.
But yeah, Benjamin Franklin wanted the national bird of the United States to be the turkey.
Okay. That would have been pretty funny instead of the eagle.
It would have been pretty sick.
Well, listeners, let us know what farm animals you think are better looking in the UK. Chris, are even Republicans losing faith in Trump then? To get serious?
I don't really know. It's hard to say, especially from the polling. But on the economy, according to Pew Research, in early March, 73% of Republicans feel the economy will be better off a year from now. So that would probably say people are still, undecided, especially if they're Republican. 64% of Democrats think it will get worse a year from now. But more recently, I noted some polling from Marquette Law School, including 1,000 registered voters. It says this: 58% of adults think tariffs hurt the US economy, while 28% say tariffs help the economy, and 14% say they don't make much difference. Essentially, they don't really know what the point of the tariffs are. That's what that says. Slightly more than half of Republicans, 52%, think tariffs help the economy, but 58% of independents say they hurt the economy, as do 89% of Democrats. I think what we are seeing at the moment, I feel like I say this every week, is that people don't really know. And because so much has happened so quickly in the US at the moment, it almost needs a bit of buffer time, a bit of time to see what the impact is going to be. And actually, Senator Ron Johnson is one of the Republican skeptics over tariffs, for example. And he said that it's a risky move, and then added, I don't know what his strategy is, but you look at what the market's reaction is. I have a similar kind of reaction. I'm concerned. And I think amongst a lot of sane Republicans, that sentiment is probably shared.
Now to round up a few more stories and some stories you might have missed. So, Nikki, Wisconsin. It seems like maybe actually some good news for us to talk about for once.
Should I wear my cheese head?
Well, yeah, I guess I want to ask that specifically, actually. What is the deal with the cheese hat?
as an official, unofficial, honorary ambassador for the great state of Wisconsin, i.e., my fiance is from Wisconsin, the cheese hat is an important cultural icon that has existed for decades. The cheese head is the official headwear of the Green Bay Packers.
Why? Why though? I've got a Green Bay Packers jumper actually, so I'll wear that next week.
We love the Green Bay
wear that for
Packers
Jake.
because Wisconsin is known for its cheese production.
Okay.
They make like good cheese.
Okay,
Like
nice.
I, for my wedding, am planning to import approximately 150 pounds of cheese curds from Wisconsin to Mexico for my wedding.
Okay, nice.
But I believe it was Packers because of the Indian Packing Company.
Okay.
But Wisconsin,
Okay,
known for
nice.
cheesehead. So if you go to a Packers game, like tons of people will be wearing these. It's a very, it's very classic Wisconsin. I'm going to take this off now.
So what's gone on in Wisconsin politically then, and why is it important? Why is it cool?
Yeah. So this past week, Wisconsin had a very important state Supreme Court race. What has been going on in Wisconsin over the past few years is that for time in memoriam, really, it's been decades, I think, at this point, the Wisconsin electoral map, the map that decided the districts for the state legislature, was, and I think also like congressional districts, was extremely gerrymandered. Democrats could win a majority of votes throughout the entirety of the state, and it was almost virtually impossible for them to get a majority in the legislature because the districts were drawn in a way that so heavily favored Republicans. Essentially, I believe it was last year, the Wisconsin Supreme Court said, hey, this map is unconstitutional. And at the time, the Supreme Court was controlled by like the liberal faction of the justices. They said this map is unconstitutional. We're going to have to like redraw the whole thing. They've redrawn it. Theoretically, in the next electoral cycle, Wisconsinites will vote with this new map. Cut to last week. You have a critical state Supreme Court election in Wisconsin that will decide if liberals keep their majority on the court or if Republicans win it back. This race, over the last couple months, became the most expensive state Supreme Court race in the history of the United States. I believe it was about $80 million were spent on this race.
Whoa.
And some of it was Elon Musk just giving away $1 million to people in competitions which may or may not be legal.
Elon Musk individually sank, through his PACs, but it's his money, $25 million into this election, which is insane. And he was trying to repeat what he did in the swing states during the election. You know, sign this petition and I'll give you money. If you sign this petition and come to this rally, you could win a drawing for $1 million. And it turns out that it wasn't a random drawing. They had pre-selected who won the $1 million. He did that again in Wisconsin, and the conservative, because he's not technically a Republican, because since it's a court race, they're supposed to be nonpartisan. The conservative candidate that Elon Musk and Donald Trump backed lost.
Nice.
It's notable for a lot of reasons. Susan Crawford, the liberal judge who won, she beat Brad Schmel. This isn't a race taking place 5 months after Trump won what he calls a blowout election that gave him a mandate from heaven, 2 months after he entered office. Susan Crawford didn't win by a narrow itty-bitty margin. She won by more than 10 percentage points, which is a lot, especially in an off-cycle election when turnout is a lot lower and when you have Trump's right-hand man, his unofficial co-president, going to the state and literally, almost, because he's technically found a loophole, paying people to vote for the candidate of his choice. It's a really, really important shot across the bow for Republicans about how they're being viewed right now. And so, there's a lot of caveats here. It's one data point. Even if it's a big data point, it's just one data point. It is an off-cycle election. Turnout is a little wonky. But if I am a Republican in like a swing district or in a really tight race in the midterms. And my plan was, oh, Elon Musk and Donald Trump are so popular that I'll just like win by default. I'm a little nervous. I'm a little nerviosa.
With Elon Musk and things kind of turning for him a little bit, there's talk of him having to leave Doge. Could his time being quite this directly involved in US politics be coming to an end? And might results like this be hastening that trajectory?
I mean, it might be over soon just because of the law.
Okay.
Elon Musk was like appointed into the position he's in as a special government employee. He can only stay in that position for 130 days within a 365-day cycle.
Okay.
So by the nature of the law, his time as like an official employee of the Trump administration might expire. But then again, as we've seen in the last few months, the Trump administration doesn't really care about the rules. So they could find a way to extend that. I think the bigger problem is what we've talked about on the pod before, is that he is making himself the face of a lot of really unpopular policies and just flaunting himself in a way that when shit hits the fan, when the approval ratings tank, when Republicans are looking at polling numbers in their districts and saying like, oh my God, we might lose the House or the Senate because people are really pissed off about everything we've done in the last X amount of months. Well, who's the easiest guy to be like, it was his fault? It's Elon Musk.
Chris, how does it seem like people are feeling about Elon Musk? How are you feeling about Elon Musk, man?
I don't really like
pretty
him.
riled up.
He's annoying.
Yeah, fair.
That's how I feel.
Yeah, how are people feeling, though?
I think they think he's annoying as well.
Yeah.
What a feeling.
Well, you want some polling, presumably, which is why you've come to me.
Polly boy.
Flipping hell. Well, it's back to Marquette Law School we go.
Okay.
Again, for some polling, because I saw
To
it.
market.
Yeah. 1,000 people were asked. And Elon Musk is viewed favourably by 41% and unfavourably by 53%, according to this data. Partisan differences in views show that 81% of Republicans are favourable to Musk in this. This is just in this data, Jarv. Flipping out. While 58% of independents and 97% of Democrats are unfavourable. Who'd have thought it?
Who'd have thunk? That's higher than I expected, though, because he just seems very, like, un-American. The way he's behaving is very un-American. Like, Americans are surely, they care about patriotism and democracy and shit.
Who's looking at the way he's acting and thinking, yeah, that's great?
Yeah.
Like, nothing he does is even funny when he tries to be. Nothing seems genuine. I don't understand who would look at him and his performance on the stage next to Trump and go, I'm going to fire that guy.
He's got a lot of money, though.
So what?
And that's what people...
He's a fucking idiot.
Yeah, fair. Nikki, So Chris
Sorry,
has been putting
everyone.
up a robust argument against Elon Musk here.
Oh, why are you apologizing?
No,
well, I didn't want to
apologise.
upset anyone by
That's
shouting.
all right, Chris, you can get angry. But Chris has been quite a good person there at having a good push against Elon Musk. Nikki, I'm once again asking, why the fuck did the Democrats waste Waltz so much? Like, he's coming out now and you're like, this guy, maybe if you'd had a primary and he'd ran in it, you'd vote for this guy. What? I don't know. And like, how are you feeling seeing this resurgence of Tim Waltz and thinking, could things have been totally different?
I really hope Tim Waltz continues to do great things. I think he ran a fantastic model in Minnesota. I think Minnesota and like his tenure as governor there, what he managed to do with the legislature, it really was a masterclass in passing progressive economic policies that voters and constituents really like. It was childcare, it was school lunches, it was bringing jobs and like other progressive priorities to Minnesota. So I think I love that Tim Waltz is able to get under Elon Musk's skin. I think he's teeing himself up for a run either for the Senate or the presidency in the future. I would love it if he was there, because I do think the Harris campaign really kind of put him in a box and didn't take advantage of everything he had to offer. And it goes back to the discussion we've had before that if Democrats had an open primary and really allowed themselves as a party to kind of beat each other over the head with the issues in the way that they needed to, the outcome could have been incredibly different. And I think what happened in Wisconsin is kind of a sign of how, despite Crawford winning, of this being a theoretical win for Democrats, of how out of touch Democrats have been in the last few electoral cycles, because their popularity right now is like somewhere in the 20s.
Yeah.
Crawford still managed to win by a 10-point margin. And I don't want to give all of the credit to Musk and what he was doing in the state, but it kind of goes to show what a silver platter billionaires shouldn't be able to buy our government is as a message. It is the easiest point of messaging. And if you can tie that to real discussions about not just how billionaires are bad, but what you're going to do to bring back economic power to everyday working class Americans, that's a super winning message. Trump and Musk are literally handing you your core campaign strategy for the next 3 years. It's like, hey, look at this guy, the president, who's cutting your entitlements, cutting social safety net programs, like making everything more expensive for you. And look at his little billionaire crony who bought his way into the government and is basically telling him what to do. It's easy peasy lemon squeezy, you win the election. Okay, I don't know about all that. I'm not a consultant.
But yeah, like, fuck billionaires, let Tim Walz cook. Victory.
Let him cook.
That's what we need.
But that's here. Like, I think it's important to point out, Elon Musk wasn't the only person. Like, fuck billionaires. Elon Musk wasn't the only billionaire dumping money into the election in Wisconsin. Yeah. Like, I think Pritzker, a couple other like Democratic left-leaning billionaires were as well. The thing that makes Elon Musk different is that all of these other billionaires know that the minute the public realizes that they have found a bunch of weird and creative ways to basically buy elected offices, to buy the government and purchase legislation, they're cooked. It would be public revolt. It would be the French Revolution. So they're quiet about it. They funnel their money through PACs and dark money groups. And, you know, they do things like the Koch brothers and the Mercer family. You can't recognize people. Like, if I tell you the Koch brothers, can you picture what they look like?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you can't. Elon Musk is getting up stage being like, ha ha ha, I'm going to give you $1 million. He's kind of asking for it at this point. He's asking to be the face of the public backlash against rich people.
He's gauche.
I would agree, fuck billionaires, apart from if they want to back us on Patreon. In which case,
give me $1 billion.
Welcome on board. We're glad to have you.
Or take over Leicester City Football Club.
Or take over Leicester City Football Club.
There is
I'm sick of them.
Yeah, something.
Well, actually, I should. The ownership's all right. It's, you know, we could go on a 25-hour rant about this, but we won't.
But billionaires, go to patreon.com/American Friction. And even millionaires, and I think we've probably got some millionaire listeners.
Well,
just based upon sort of property value and stuff like that. So patreon.com/American Friction. If you bought your house in the 90s, you have to go and back us on Patreon right now. Cory Booker, this massive speech, Nikki. I'm going to ask the simple question. What was it all in aid of?
In aid, not particularly anything. It was a protest speech against Trump's policies, which, what did it accomplish? Not much other than some like really decent sound bites, media attention, and breaking a record held by a really shitty man, which that in itself, I think justifies it. So I think Booker, the final count was that he spoke for 25 hours and 4 minutes. The previous record was 24 hours and 18 minutes, and it was held by a former senator who is now dead, named Strom Thurmond. Am I correct?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. Why'd you say dead like that?
He's dead.
Yeah, he's dead. And I'm going to tell you why I said it like that. Because
Because he's a nasty man.
Strom Thurmond's record-holding speech, which stood for, how many years?
Well, 70 years.
Yeah, like 70 years. It was a speech he gave against the Civil Rights Act of 1957.
Okay, fuck that.
Yeah.
Then. Yeah.
Yeah. Strom Thurmond hated black people. He hated giving people the right to vote. He hated people having civil rights. He wanted civil rights for only white people. So we don't like him, and we're glad that his record is broken and he can stay dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
He can. He probably will.
He will, I reckon, as well.
Yeah. Oh, he was also wait, do you want to know how much of a Republican? He was originally a member of the Democratic Party. And when Democrats started to got really into the wave of the civil rights movement, he switched to the Republican Party because he couldn't fucking stand it. He sucks.
Right. Shall we do some listener questions now?
Might have to.
Love a listener question.
Right, listeners' questions then. So, Rob, once again, one name, Prince. He said, Pack, Elvis. Cher.
Yeah.
It goes Elvis,
Carney.
Cher, Prince, Rob.
Rob.
That's if I was to list my one name people, that's where it goes. Elvis, Cher, Prince, Rob. You know Rob, our Patreon backer.
Yeah, Rob.
So Rob asks, Trump keeps on saying a lot of things. He keeps saying he can run for a third term and that there are ways to do it, etc. But what would he actually be going to do with it? And does that open the door to previous presidents running it again if they chose to? I'm going to come to you, Chris, because actually we spoke to our friend Casey Berger about this, didn't we, for the episode that's going to be coming out on Monday. So give us a little bit of teaser and then we'll go over to Nikki, thoughts on this. But yeah, is Obama coming back?
No.
Running again?
No.
Obama versus Trump. Come on. Come on.
Why did you say it like that?
Because who says no?
I mean, what's the question? Is the question that Trump's going to run for a third term?
Well, he's saying it,
Can he?
but also I guess the question is what's he going to do with it if he runs for a third term? And does it open the door for, I don't know, maybe what the Bushes could run again?
I still find it very hard to see how he could get the support for it.
Okay.
I mean, I asked Casey this, would the public support it? And essentially the answer is absolutely not.
Okay.
That's the crux of it, I guess. But also, if he was to run for a third term, how old would he be? 80, 82?
Yeah.
Like,
86 by the end of it.
He's already cognitively not really all there, let's be honest. Imagine another 4 years of that.
So, Nikki, your thoughts around this, do you think we could get some pretty old school... I quite like the idea of running it back.
What do you mean?
Let's just get some old matchups. So it's like George W. Bush is running. What? You're like this guy again? I just think it'd be fun.
War
maybe
crimes?
we could make it 4 ways.
But
So Sarah Palin's running.
Why have
Why
you brought it back to this? No one's questioning this. Everyone's questioning whether Trump's going to run again.
Also, does that open the door to previous presidents running again if they chose to?
Well,
that's Rob's questions. Clinton and Barack Obama. Joint ticket versus George W. Bush, Sarah Palin, and Trump. Triple ticket.
We're going to bomb Yemen and get our dick sucked? Is that the Democratic platform now?
Oh, my goodness.
Got my vote.
What's got your vote? Oh, no.
I'm just saying
Oh, goodness.
For entertainment value, something about the old school run it back.
So you're supporting a change to the 22nd Amendment? Is that what you're saying?
I don't want it to happen, but I'm saying if it were to happen...
You'd
I'm
vote
saying
for
it would be great.
So you are supporting it?
No, I'm just saying if it's going to happen, if Trump gets to, then we get to. So if Trump gets to run again, let's be real, Obama... People would vote for that dude again.
Yeah, but Obama wouldn't support a change to the 22nd Amendment in the first place.
But I'm just saying fight fire with fire if it happens.
I don't think Obama would run again.
No, I don't think he would, but I'm just saying we'd have to fight fire with fire if Trump goes again. We'd have to be like, well, okay, we're getting Michelle Obama to run, Barack Obama VP, and we're just running it.
Well, Rob, you've heard our debate around this. Stick around until Monday when you can hear an actual professional who knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Fair enough. Well, thank you to Rob, Prince, Cher, and Elvis
all right.
as well. Matt GS. I'm not going to make
Matt
any
Gates,
fun
what?
of your name. Matt Gates is a listener. I've heard, actually. Yeah, he doesn't like it, but he hate listens. He's got a soft account that he gives us stick from. The trouble, this is from Matt GS, so maybe Matt Gates. The trouble with the uncertainty of Trump is that today being Wednesday, so this was written in the past, this question, is Liberation Day, and it's still 2 days before the episode is released. Oh, we're having to really get quite meta with this.
The timeline's all over the place.
So it
it's
could
like
all change
Marvel.
again by Friday. If this question isn't too meta, I fear it may be. Will you shed a light on your process to keep the content relevant when there's a horse loose in a hospital? That's relating to a comedy bit about saying that Trump's like a horse loose in a hospital, for anyone who
There's a
doesn't
horse in the hospital.
Nice.
But
How'd he get in?
techniques for keeping up. Nikki, how do you keep up on top of all of this? I feel like you just don't really sleep.
I don't. I am just, there's like days where we wake up to record the episode. And I know Jarv and Chris have been awake at that point for like 6 or 7 hours. Yeah. And I'm just texting them like, we need to add this, we need to add that, cut that. Like, like 20 minutes before we record, I'm just like, we need a question on this thing because it just happened. I think if it's something really earth-shattering, it's happened a couple times where we will either emergency record a segment or emergency record an episode to make up for it. If it's something minor, we can typically include it on the next week episode as like, oh, here's an update on this thing, or fold it into some follow-up news story that's related to that, or put it in the roundup. But I think it's mostly just, there's always a lot happening, so there's never a shortage of content. It's really just a matter of how you prioritize.
Yeah, I would say in terms of my process for it, I've really come to terms with just enjoying it. Just keeping loose.
What has happened to you in the last 10 minutes?
I used to script this show so heavily when we first started out. You know what I mean? Like, it used to be such a dense script, like so many things. I'd be like, look at this link, look at that. And then I just got fucked over too many times. I would do that, and then the day of, I'd be like, oh, I've just got to rewrite it. So now I just go, I'm going to keep the scripts. There's going to be a basis of it, but if something happens, we can bring it up. We can riff on it. We can go with it. So, yeah, and also a lot of mine is how I keep up on it, personally, is I'm starting to find it too depressing to focus on it solely on its own. So I will keep up on it whilst I'm doing other things. When I'm I'll be like on the exercise bike at the gym and I'll be reading US politics and writing the script. Is what I'm doing. Yeah, because like, honestly, I mean, part of it's probably the kind of like hyperactivity, but part of it's just that it's like, I find that I can be less depressed focusing on it if I'm kind of splitting myself a little bit. Chris?
I've developed a method.
Oh yeah, the Chris Jones method.
Yeah, whereby if Lauren, my girlfriend, comes in and says, you seen what Trump's done? I normally have to pay attention to it because it's cut through. Whereas there's so much other stuff that you could pay attention to and read around about. But ultimately, is it what we're going to focus on in the podcast? Probably not. But if Laura, oh no! If Lauren comes in and says,
do neither of you know your girlfriends?
Well, maybe Nikki did hear it earlier, but you referred to Lisa as Nikki a minute ago. So get down off your bloody high horse loose in this bloody hospital you keep talking about. Anyway, if Lauren mentions it, I probably need to pay attention to it. But also, yeah, it's so unavoidable right now that it's hard not to pay attention to at least something.
Yeah. Well,
there's really no tips in there from me.
No, the tip. My tip is basically, if you want to pay attention to US politics, don't sweat it too much and try and do other things whilst you're keeping up with it.
Unless you're American and then sweat it.
Well, no, obviously sweat it. Like, I'm not saying it's not stressful, but I'm like, just don't try and get yourself too worked up. Yoda said meow, so she
wow.
He knows what's going on.
That's some really good points.
And here's a question from Valeria Martinelli. Is it actually possible that and this is orange emoji, bell emoji, end emoji, orange bell end,
Oh, clever.
does not get briefed when things like the signal chat happen or soldiers go missing in Lithuania, etc. Do people hide things because they're scared of his reaction, or do they not bother because he doesn't pay attention? And I don't know which is more worrying. Nikki, do you get any sense that maybe people want to sugarcoat stuff to Trump so they don't tell him the bad news when they ought to, or they don't bother telling him so he doesn't pay attention, or does he just doesn't pay attention? He probably gets all these briefings and he just doesn't pay attention to anything.
I mean, I think that was a little bit of a problem, I think, in his first administration, that the people around him in the White House were very careful about like when and how they delivered information to him.
Sure.
Also because he loved to go around and just blab about sensitive stuff that he'd heard. It's also like the soldiers in Lithuania where he was like, oh, this is the first time. He loves doing the like, oh, you're telling me about this for the first time thing. I think sometimes he might be learning stuff from the press. I think other times it's a way for him to deflect a question he doesn't want to deal with in that moment. It's like the Ruth Bader Ginsburg thing kind of became a meme. So now it's almost one of the default answers he can click on. But I don't think they're at a point where they can outright hide things from him because he is in front of the press so often that he's going to get questions about these things. Him paying attention, well, he's a 70-something-year-old man at this point. I'm sure the retention isn't as great as it once was. But mostly, I think it's primarily a media management strategy. Like maybe he got the 2-second briefing before he went into a cabinet meeting being like, hey, this happened. We'll talk about it after this. And then he gets a question about it and he just has to, set it aside. And because sometimes addressing it when you don't know enough about it can make the situation worse than just pretending you know nothing at all.
Chris, is there a final question come in that you've got to ask, haven't you?
Oh, yeah, we thought we'd end on a lighter note.
Sure.
That isn't US politics related, because me and Jarv were having a debate about this in the office. So what would be on it, what would not be on it, what's best, what's not best. But first, let's start off with a definition. Well, let's start off what Nikki thinks the definition is of a picky tea.
Do you know what a picky tea is?
For the listeners there, Nikki's face was one of bemusement and horror, I would say.
A picky tea.
Picky tea.
Are you getting drunk?
No,
probably not on a picky tea.
Not on alcohol, anyway.
No. So a picky tea, Nikki, is kind of, I suppose it's like...
It's picky tea.
Yeah, I guess it's adjacent to like boy dinner and girl dinner, but like
you
not...
say... Oh,
Like
so you mean it like the food, like a weird light dinner?
It's kind of, but it can be pretty heavy, yeah. Like if my grandma was making it, fucking
It's an amalgamation of things on a plate, usually you'd see on a picnic, I'd say, that don't necessarily go together as one homogenous meal, but they're all delicious in part by themselves, and therefore it's a picky tea.
Yeah, so like my grandma would make like cheese and onion pie. That would be bits.
You're having a pie on a picky tea?
Cold cheese and onion pie.
A big pie?
No, cheese and onion pie is like short crust pastry with just cheese and onion in the middle of it. It's really, really good.
That's exactly what I thought it was going to be.
It's a fucked up charcuterie board.
Kind of.
Yeah, kind of, but it's British, though.
Yeah, and then it'd be like Scotch eggs, and then like...
You got your pork
pies.
Well,
look, we're back to the same point that you Brits and your silly words, like, do you know how I felt when I found out the Piccadilly Circus was not a circus? Like...
What would you call a picky tea? Do you have such a concept in America?
I mean, I guess the closest thing is like maybe like girl dinner or just like leftovers. Like the one dinner you have, which is like the stuff that you...
It's picky tea.
It's not leftovers. How dare you? How flipping dare you?
Yeah, okay, I looked up a photo and this just kind of looks like a fucked up charcuterie board.
Yeah.
It's better though.
Like a charcuterie board with nuggets.
Chicken nuggets on a picky tea. It? Oof, I don't know if I
can see Simon through that. Producer Simon is writhing at that thought. Chicken nuggets
Chris,
and a
what's your
tea.
picky tea essential then? Let's wrap it up on that.
Scotch egg, nice ham, bread, maybe a sourdough or a French baguette with lots of nice butter. Nice butter.
Yeah,
It's got to be nice butter.
It's quite fancy for a picadilly.
I do like a little bit of salad on there,
It's
though.
almost like a ploughman's what you're having.
And a pate.
Okay, so like a deconstructed sandwich?
Yeah, like Chris has basically described a ploughman's lunch, kind of.
No, I haven't.
Pretty much.
Who's having a
far
pork
off.
pie in a sandwich?
Yeah.
Or a Scotch egg? Are you having Scotch egg sandwiches over here then, are you?
Ploughman's, don't you?
I'm not having a Scotch egg because eggs are nasty.
Well, they're too expensive.
Yeah. Well, mine is going to be my grandma's cheese and onion pie.
Yeah,
That's the
sure.
essential for picky tea. That's really good. And I also like crisp-wise, those crinklies. The Jacob's crinklies.
I'm more of a
Or circular
Pringles man
crinkly.
for a picky tea myself.
Nikki, do you think you'll have picky tea for dinner tonight?
No, but I do have a vat of cornichons that I've just been eating for the
Pickles are on mine as well, yeah.
I was like, what the hell is Nikki drinking? Then I was like, I think that's just pickles.
Are you drinking pickles?
She's drinking pickles, guys. I thought it was your
No,
drink.
wait,
but
this?
No,
This thing?
No, this is why I've been confused, because I've seen you picking at a thing that was like drink, and then I've seen you picking at the pickles too, and then I was like,
No, these are not pickles. These are
okay.
Yoda's treats.
that's it. Well, I was confused.
That's got to
anyway.
go on a t-shirt, isn't it?
Yeah, these are Yoda's treats. And then this is a hair roller that I play with because I
Okay.
like how it feels on my hands.
Wouldn't know anything about it.
Okay, well, listeners, if you'd like to help us buy a picky tea, you can ask us questions like that on our Patreon community chat. So if you back us on our £5 and above tier, you'll get the access to ask us questions. And everyone else can ask us questions as well, but you'll be lower priority. I'm sorry. That's just capitalism.
There's a 50% tariff on all non-Patreon subscriber
Exactly.
questions.
Oh, yeah.
And that brings us to the end of this episode of
American
American Friction.
American Friction. Thank you very much, Nikki.
Thank you so much, Chris, Jarv, Simon.
Chris Jarv, Simon.
Simon.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you, Jarv, Nikki, Simon.
The job, Nikki son. Simon, thank you. Sorry this has been silly, but you'll fix all that.
Thank you, Chris, Jarv, Nikki. Yeah, maybe I'll just leave it all in.
Who knows?
I like it.
Nice.
Keep it loose.
And thank you to all of you, our picky tea selection of listeners out there. We very much enjoy having you support us. And as I've mentioned already, but I'll mention again, remember, if you want to help keep this show going, we do need your support. If you could go to patreon.com/American Friction, you can sign up to get episodes ad-free, you can get merchandise, and you can also join our community chat. And think how good quality the chat is here, and you get better quality chat
hell
than
yeah.
that. And a quick reminder, if you enjoy the show but you can't back us financially, we totally get that. But please do go rate, review, comment, subscribe wherever you're listening to the show. I'm Jacob Jarvis, and I'll always be Jacob Jarvis. You've been listening to American Friction.